September 7, 2011, a day that changed the world of sports, aviation, and a community forever. On this tragic day, the Russian city of Yaroslavl became the site of one of the most devastating events in hockey history, the crash of Yak Service Flight 9633. On board was the Lokomotiv Yaroslavl hockey team, one of Russia's elite teams, heading to their season opener in Minsk. Founded in 1959, Lokomotiv Yaroslavl had grown to be a powerhouse in the Continental Hockey League, better known as the KHL. With 3 Russian Super League championships under their belt, the team represented the heart and soul of Yaroslavl, a city that deeply cherished its hockey tradition. As the 2011 season was about to begin, there was excitement in the air, as Lokomotiv had assembled a formidable lineup. International stars like Pavel Demitra, Ruslan Saleh, and Stefan Liv were set to lead the team to new heights. On the morning of September 7, 2011, Lokomotiv Yaroslavl was preparing for their flight to Minsk, Belarus, for their season opener. The team boarded a Yak-42D, a Soviet-era aircraft operated by Yak Service. It was a routine flight, covering just over 800 kilometers, a distance easily manageable by the Yak-42D. But behind the scenes, things weren't as routine as they seemed. The aircraft had a known history of operational issues, and Yak Service itself had a checkered reputation in aviation safety. However, no one could have predicted what would unfold shortly after takeoff. At approximately 4:05 p.m. local time, Flight 9633 took off from Tunoshna Airport. Almost immediately, the plane struggled to gain altitude. According to investigators, the aircraft's speed was far below the necessary minimum required for a safe takeoff. Just seconds after leaving the ground, the Yak-42D veered to the left and collided with a signal mast before plummeting into the Volga riverbank. 44 people were on board that fateful flight. Among them were 26 players, 11 coaching staff and team personnel, and 7 crew members. Only one survived. The crash took the lives of nearly an entire team, devastating the hockey world, the city of Yaroslavl, and their families. Emergency response teams arrived on the scene quickly, but it was clear the devastation was immense. Among the wreckage, only 2 survivors were found: flight engineer Alexander Sizov and locomotive forward Alexander Galimov, who initially survived the crash but was in critical condition. The world held its breath as Galimov, beloved by fans and known for his tenacity on the ice, fought for his life. But after 5 days of battling severe burns and injuries, Alexander Galimov succumbed to his wounds, leaving Sizov as the sole survivor of the crash. In the aftermath of the crash, an investigation was launched by the Interstate Aviation Committee, IAC, to determine the cause of the disaster. What they uncovered was a tragic combination of human error, negligence, and mechanical issues. Key factors included: the plane was overloaded and improperly balanced, making it difficult to control during takeoff. The crew was undertrained, with one of the pilots found to have insufficient qualifications for flying the Yak-42. Critically, it was discovered that during takeoff, the brakes had been accidentally engaged due to a foot positioning error by one of the pilots. The airline's operational standards were far below acceptable levels. The hockey world was stunned. Players, coaches, and fans from across the globe reacted in shock and disbelief. From Russia to North America, the grief was palpable. Teams from the NHL, KHL, and other leagues paid tribute to the fallen players. A moment of silence was held before games, and makeshift memorials sprouted up around arenas. Some of the players lost in the crash had deep ties to the international hockey community. Players like Pavel Demitra had played in the NHL, representing countries like Slovakia and Sweden. The tragedy hit home for many across multiple leagues and countries. For Yaroslavl, the loss was personal. Lokomotiv was more than just a hockey team. It was a symbol of pride and unity for the city. In the days following the crash, thousands gathered at Arena 2000, the team's home rink, to mourn the players who had given them so much joy over the years. Fans, players' families, and local officials gathered for a public memorial service as the city came together to honor those lost. Despite the overwhelming grief, the people of Yaroslavl were determined to see their team rise again. In the 2011-2012 KHL season, Lokomotiv announced it would rebuild the team, though it would not participate fully until the following season. With the support of the KHL, A new roster was built, featuring a mix of young talent and veteran players. The spirit of Lokomotiv Yaroslavl lived on, with the hope that the memory of those who had perished would forever inspire the new generation of players. Years after the tragedy, Lokomotiv Yaroslavl remains a strong presence in the KHL, carrying forward the legacy of those who lost their lives in 2011. The crash sparked widespread changes in Russian aviation safety standards, ensuring that such a tragedy would never happen again. For the hockey world, September 7th is a day of remembrance, a day to reflect on the fragility of life and the bonds that unite the sports community. While time has passed, the memories of those who perished in the Lokomotiv Yaroslavl crash will never fade. Their legacy is immortalized in the hearts of their families, fans, and the world of hockey. As we remember the tragic events of September 7, 2011, we are reminded of the strength of the human spirit, the passion for the game, and the resilience of a community.